Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Hi, Sifu. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me on. You're the first person on the Brett Russell Chats podcast. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. I think what you're trying to do is really important. So I'm excited to be and catch up with you again.
Great. Thanks, Ken. I just wanted to say, first of all, Dr. Ken Hudson, you've obviously done lots of work in your time. You've done a PhD in organizational creativity. You've been the marketing director of American Express. You've written 3 international books: Speed Thinking, Idea Generation, and Problem Solving, which is amazing. You've been a consult and done consulting for many international non-for-profit and profit organizations. And on top of that, of all that work, you're also giving back, and you're a lecturer with UTS and also other international Asian organizations in Singapore and China as well. So you've done lots of different things, and it's just an incredible body of work. And my question initially is, what got you into marketing? What got you into the world of marketing?
Yes, well, that was a great question. I originally did a marketing degree. Why marketing? Because I loved people. I liked solving problems. I liked trying to work out what would appeal to customers, and the creativity of it as well. So what got me into marketing was just all those kind of factors coming together. And I felt that I could, make a contribution, and, it sort of played to my strengths, which is one of the things that when I talk to people, I think people sometimes forget about what they're good at and what they like doing and what they're passionate about, like your journey. And if you can find that and then trying to do more of that, you'll, enjoy work more, and you'll be better at it, and, life will be much better.
Yeah. And what I mean, regarding your initial journey with marketing, say, for example, after you finished your initial degree and you got into, say, Amex and doing all that sort of work, was it sort of the passion that you had? Was that the on the ground work that you liked doing, or was it could you see yourself moving in different directions, or how did that part of your journey play out? Was it good?
Yes, well, I loved it, and I loved. I work with organisations like Citibank and American Express and Slazenger's, and I loved corporate life for a while. I loved because there was opportunities to learn, to try new things. I was promoted and started working with the team. I became a team leader. I had some money to, spend and invest and, work with advertising agencies. And I always loved this sort of, I love marketing, but I loved also kind of helping people look at the world a bit differently.
That's great.
In fact, one of the things that I loved most was, and it sort of came easily to me, was I liked looking at the world a bit differently, creating new ideas, challenging the status quo, whereas a lot of other people in corporate life love the status quo. And, what did we do last year? Plus 3%. And I always wanted to do things a bit differently, which is also exciting, but for a lot of other people, frustrating, because they just wanted to keep doing what they've always done. And in a world that's constantly changing, you just can't do that anymore.
Yes, no, and obviously that led you into your PhD, which and really, what was that? All that sort of what you'd done in the corporate world, was that sort of leading you down into doing that organizational creativity work? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, it's sort of. I didn't I didn't formally plan it. It was just what I realized was that I stopped enjoying working with big companies.
Yes.
And so then I worked with an advertising agency for a couple of years, a medium-sized agency, and I loved the creative process. And then I decided I'd work with a consulting company, which was much smaller, and I loved the passion and energy and vibrancy and agility of a smaller organization.
Yes.
And then literally people, I tell the story, but it's true. I had a dream one night where I was, it was kind of three interlocking circles, and I could imagine myself as a student.
Yes.
I could imagine myself running my own business, and I could imagine myself as a teacher. I was doing none of those at the time. And so I woke up in the morning and drew my three circles and showed it to my wife. And I said, I think this is the life that I want to lead.
Yes.
And she said, look, that's fine, darling. But she put a dollar sign in the middle of the three circles and said, well, that's good, darling, but you still got to earn some money. So
there always has to be the practical.
No, aspect. That's right, which was actually very good advice. So I actually applied to the university where I did my first degree and started working as a part-time lecturer. I applied for a PhD program and got in with my thesis topic around organizational creativity, and then I set up my own business.
Fantastic.
And I think a lot of people. And maybe it's changing, I think, now because you can, with the internet, you can start, there's much more of an incentive to start your own business and try new things.
Yes.
Whereas when I started over 25 years ago, that was still a big leap.
Yes.
I remember a corporate colleague of mine took us out to dinner and basically was talking to my wife saying, whatever you do, tell Ken he's mad. He's, we should be doing it. Yeah, don't do it. When I was going to the bathroom, and Margot kept saying, but that's what he wants to do. Why not?
Yeah.
Try and do stuff that you really like doing. So that was kind of my journey.
I must admit, I had the same thing with particularly with the size of a shop I had in Coogee, which, obviously, that's how we met through training. And I remember I ended up getting this shop, and it was 34 square meters. And I had so many people coming into the shop saying, this isn't going to work. This is not going to work. And it's still there as a Shally Monk shop now. It's 20, 25 years later on. So it's I do agree. I think you got to go. Sometimes you got to follow your heart and your head, and then obviously be smart with it. But then if you know what you want to do, then it's about getting in and forging ahead and getting in and doing it. So
that's a really good point, because I think in both of our examples there were external voices saying you can't do it, don't do it. What if you go wrong? What if it doesn't work? Whereas my internal voice was going, well, this is what I want to do. I think I'll be good at it. I think actually on a practical level, not many organizations at the time, they were all struggling with how to be more innovative and how to be more creative. So just purely from a business point of view, I thought if I could learn more about that, perhaps I could build a business around that, and wouldn't that might be valuable for people, as well as my passion. But I think if you spend your life listening to outside voices, you might kind of please them, but you don't please yourself.
100%. That's no. And that sort of leads me into, which is really what I'm fascinated with, is speed thinking and switch thinking. It's these ideas that now is a base of your work, and obviously you've written international books about these topics, and I'm fascinated to hear this play out. So tell me how this all, how does this relate, and how does it all work within business, for example?
I guess speed thinking, which was I wrote a book on that about 8, 9, 10 years ago or something, is built on an insight. And I think the important thing for me was sometimes you just got to be open and aware of these aha moments and
Yes.
these when these insights that come along. And I was working with a lot of managers and leaders, and we would get away for a day and spend time talking about their issues and problems, and I was showing them how to think a bit creatively about them. And what I noticed was that they would always meet, say, with one issue for an hour. Why an hour? Because everything was done in an hour.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know. And what I'd noticed when I would go, for across numerous industries and organisations, was that nothing much would happen in the hour. I'd go from group to group until I opened the door and said 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there was this huge burst of energy. They'd go, oh wow, wow, oh my God, we got to. And after 10 minutes, they would often come up with these amazing ideas.
Yeah.
And I when I watched this, I just thought, actually, I wonder what's happening in this 10 minutes. What if you could, learn from it. And so what I did was I developed a whole kind of thinking approach, which I called speed thinking, which
Yeah.
is built around this sort of 10 minutes. And the idea is, and people, when I started to formalize it and started teaching it and showing people, they were amazed at what they could do in the 10 minutes. And why I think it works is, for many of us, the biggest barrier to our own creativity is the fact that we have this filter in our head. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm silly? What if I make a mistake? And
Yes.
all this amazing ideas we cut off before we even, get it out.
Yeah.
So what I found is, if I gave people paradoxically no time, they had no time to evaluate or filter their ideas. They could just say, right, get it out, 9 ideas in 2 minutes, ready, set, go, boom.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people will go, oh my God, this is fantastic. Look at these amazing, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the sort of insight behind speed thinking. And then I taught it to literally thousands of leaders and managers all across Australia and Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, China.
That's fantastic. I think it's amazing. I mean, in the world of business, it to my way of thinking, it's an amazing thing that you've done, because I suppose initially I was in the aviation industry, and as an aviator, if things happen, you have to react quickly, and it's just obviously it's something that we do inherently mechanically, on a mechanical skill level, where if you have issues like an engine failure or other issues, it's we go through checklists, and it's all sort of automated, and it works. But there are things by instinct that you have to do, whether it be
Yes.
finding a landing spot or different things in an emergency situation. So I suppose aviators are used to that sort of stuff. But I realized when I worked for a company in aviation, in a business sense, it was completely different.
Yes.
Which is exactly what you were saying, and things were actually a lot slower. So I think aviators in a business sense are quite frustrated people.
No, that's a really good example. And as the world's getting faster, it's I think people today have to be more agile, more flexible, quicker to respond, because things can change. If someone sends out a tweet, for example, or a customer wants a problem solved, you got to solve it right there, right then. You can't just say, "Oh, I'll get back to you in a month."
Yeah. That's great. And so I thank you, Ken, for teaching these skills to the business world, because I think it's obviously from an aviator's point of view, it's a good thing. It's a good
Yes. Oh, thank you.
And this leads me on to now the switch thinking. And I know that's something you've been really working with in the last few years. And what So how did this come about, and how does it?
I've been really fortunate with speed thinking was based on an insight, and switch thinking was again based on again what I thought was a really interesting insight, because I was doing so much work in Asia, and I was in a conference in Singapore, and I'd just spoken, and I was having lunch with some people at the table, and the lady from Singapore sat next to me, and she started talking to me in English, asking me some questions about my talk. And then she would talk to her colleague in Mandarin.
Okay.
And I was intrigued because I'm not bilingual, but I was in awe of her ability to switch between these different languages. And it wasn't just language, it was kind of cultural understanding and even body language. And I was watching her and I was thinking, actually, you know what, if you could, and that's a learned skill.
Yes.
If you could learn how to, learn a different language and switch between languages, maybe you could learn how to switch between different modes of thinking.
Yes.
So I then thought about it and reflected on my 20 years, including my of working in this space and speed thinking, and often and so I developed this concept which I called switch thinking, and it's again this idea that you can switch between what I call box mode. Box mode is formal, logical, structured, rational thinking. And you could switch over to what I call ball mode. Why a ball? Because a ball's a metaphor for fun, playful, imaginative exploration. And then you can switch from box mode to ball mode and create these amazing ideas and then switch back to box mode to evaluate them. And so I've taught people to kind of this idea of switching between, different modes of thinking and, to use a kind of, kung fu example, it's or a martial arts example. It's so it becomes automatic. So it becomes, you can switch stance, for example, or you can switch from, attacking the legs to attacking the, up top, for example, the head. Or you can switch, you would often in lessons talk about, being able to switch from, being incredibly warm and generous and the teacher and friendly and warm to, if you were in danger to be,
harsher demeanor and
yes.
And more serious and
and ready for combat. And you can't just say to the opponent if you're in danger to say, look, give me half an hour, I need to warm up. It's just, and so this ability to kind of switch, like you can switch gears in a bike is, I think, a kind of, that's the stuff that really excites me because it's actually, and there's a whole bunch of brain research that actually kind of supports this idea of being able to switch as well.
That's fantastic, and interesting enough. Talking about the martial arts angle, obviously kung fu in Chinese means learned skill, and so you're learning. It's a learned skill of different approaches and different aspects to and that's what it's about. But that's awesome because it's great to again throw this in whether it be in the business world or really it can go wherever you go. Really, it's teaching it to people to have this skill all the time. To whether it be 24/7 or if they're in a meeting and what have you found? Like obviously you're teaching these skills to the business world. I'm assuming obviously they've had fantastic results. No doubt.
Yeah. A couple of things that I found, which is one is I'm kind of teaching something, or I've called it something called switch thinking, that people, when I've explained it to people, they've said, "Oh, is that what I've been doing?" So they've been kind of doing it intuitively anyway.
Yes.
People switch, for example, from work mode to holiday mode.
Yes.
Or, there's a work persona switch and then they come back to, to being a mum or the father or a partner.
Yep.
And so they're kind of doing this all the time. So what I've done is just said, look, did you know this is kind of what I call switch thinking? You're already good at it. I can take it so you can take it to a higher level, a different level. And so, for example, one of the ladies in the workshop that I gave not so long ago was saying her big issue was trying to get the kids to go to sleep on time.
Yeah.
So, and one of the switches I talk about, or prompts, is actually the idea of kind of, switching from this is my perspective, switch, to this is your perspective.
Yes.
And she said to me in the break, she said, I've never actually thought about getting the kids off to, dinner to sleep on time from my kids' perspective.
Yes.
And she said she realised from the kids' perspective, they don't want to leave us, they're having fun, and you're going to put them in a dark room and tell them to go to sleep.
Rolling, right?
That's right. So it's not surprising they go, well, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this. So she now, having better understood from the kids' perspective, what she could do to make the journey more interesting and more fun, et cetera, et cetera. So the good news is you can already do it. You can apply it in all sorts of situations. And three, I think the other big learning for me was the word switch is actually really powerful. Even if you don't learn any of the kind of techniques or prompts or examples, if you just have in your mind the word switch, it's an amazing way to unlock your creativity. So you can say, well, yeah, that's a good solution, but that seems a win for us and a loss for someone else. Switch. What does a win-win look like?
Yes.
And suddenly when you just, switch it from a win-loss to a win-win, or you switch perspective, you just see the world differently. You just see the situation differently. And switch is just as a concept and as a word, it's really simple, easy, very practical.
No, that's fantastic. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, with my passions, and certainly everyone knows me, that my passions are obviously martial arts is my world, and my business, aviation, which I used to be in and currently have got back into, and motorbike riding, it's constantly exactly what you're explaining, exactly what you do in all of those things. You need to switch your thinking, in whether it be defense or offense, or in a martial arts self-defense term. Same with aviation. You're constantly in a switch with how you're flying the plane, handling the plane due to weather or different obstacles that are coming your way. And motorbike riding constantly, whether it be road conditions or other obstacles that are on the road. So I'm in tune with exactly what you're saying there. I know exactly all of those things that I'm into on a whether it be a business or a personal level is and of course young kids, which have 100% with all of that aspect. And I think it's just, I know exactly what you're meaning there. You actually get instant understanding of what's going on. It's fantastic. I love it. And now this leads me to, and I know your big passion is fitness and health, and how does fitness and health for you personally play into your business and or health and well-being, and whether it be training or obviously we met through Kung Fu, and I know you go to the gym and you do soccer as well, and how does that play with you within your world of business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think on so many levels it's really important. Even on the level of I've been running my own business for 20 years, but one of the things I missed from kind of corporate life was kind of structure, and I found I had all this free time I didn't have when I was running my own business. And then I thought, actually, you know what? I'm going to set up a structure. And my structure is that every morning I get up, I might do some work for an hour, and then I go to the gym.
Yeah.
And straight away, I feel good about myself. I get an endorphins released.
Seriously, yeah.
I feel healthy. I feel like I've got the day off to a great start. And then I can go back to, do another few more. And I'm really refreshed and my mind is really clear. And then I can go back and do some more work. But what I try to do is every day is at least, if not go to the gym, do some exercise, even if it's just for a walk to the dog or still play old man soccer.
No,
for over 10 years, trained with you, and I loved it. And it was, it gave me structure, it gave me purpose, it gave me health, it gave me exercise. And particularly as you age, because I'm in my 60s now, it's even more important.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. 100%. It's I was going to say you're looking great for your 60s.
All right. Thank you very much, Sven.
You're 100% right. I mean, for me, it's the same thing. It's I think with business, if we're talking business, it's easy to get lost if you don't have that structure, if you don't have that discipline of and it sort of even within your terms of the switch thinking. When do I switch on and when do I switch off on business, and where's that line? And I think certainly for me, I know training, although it's my business, I've had to structure my training and then teaching as they're completely separate things. And certainly I know with my franchise guys, we've and the SIFUs that we've got, I've sort of tried to say there has to be that structure of your training, which is your passion, and that's what led you to wanting to do it, versus teaching, which is the work aspect and the business aspect of it. But it's still part and parcel of the whole thing.
That's a really good point, because in fact, one of the things I loved about Kung Fu was I could learn so many integrated aspects around, fitness, exercise, strength, flexibility, as well as, self-defense, as well as a kind of, because it's based on, Buddha's philosophy, it was kind of spiritual element as well, and all wrapped up in a kind of, which is one of your great strengths, in a kind of fun, accessible way. So that's one thing I've always loved. But the other thing I used to love when, particularly with Kung Fu, was, I could walk into the training area and open the door, with 5 things going on in my head. And then, once you've got me to, do a knuckle drop or, do something, I go, well, that's all. I'm not focused on any of that.
It's just what's going on.
It's just the moment. It's actually, and so as a way to reduce stress and worry, and then you realize it's just all about the now and being present and focused. As you said, switch on and switch off. I think they're really important lessons as well. And I think you can be flexible in your thinking, but really consistent with your values.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that you have to compromise your values. In fact, far from it. I think, be firm in your purpose, your vision or your mission and your values, but be flexible in, your assumptions or your beliefs or, your attitudes or, how you're defining the problem. Or is this a problem? Switch. Maybe there's an opportunity to learn and to grow.
Yeah. No, I mean, this really, it sort of encompasses everything here. It's about positivity. That's the whole thing. There's always, I know certainly in Shaolin, the yin and yang philosophy, the positive and the negative, and there's always a way to think one way or the other. And I think certainly with what you've done in your business teachings and learnings and observations and now imparting the knowledge through is positivity, and it's like a full circle. It's about positive thinking with business, with health, with training, with everything, and you end up with someone like Dr. Ken Hudson here, who's you're happy, you're spreading goodwill and fantastic knowledge to businesses and people all around the world. So, I mean, you must be pretty happy with that, Ken.
No, I'm really excited. I had an opportunity to do something a bit different, take a risk, follow my passion, and then kind of, as you said, help others. And so even there was a lady who I was at a cafe recently, and I was just she was serving me, and I kind of just intuitively said, "Oh, are you okay?" And wasn't. No, she just looked a bit, sort of as though she had a lot on her mind. Anyway, she just started. We had a bit of a chat, and then I said to her, because she was worried about should I go back to university or not? And she was kind of thinking, and I said to her, look, it seems to me you're thinking in just binary terms. It's black or white, good or bad, right or wrong, guilty, not guilty. And I said, the world's full of colour. So how about you don't think in black and white terms, think in colour.
Yes.
And different shades of colours, and it's dynamic and it's fun and it's adventurous and it's bright, and, you can have greys and purples and blues and you think about a continuum. And her whole face lit up because she was sort of trapped in this just kind of black and white thinking. Yeah. And there's moments like that where you go, yes, that's fantastic. So, I'd make a tiny difference to someone, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. I think that's really what we're here to do. We're here to particularly with someone like yourself that's got such an expansive knowledge and practical aspects in life to then give back to the community and obviously pass on those teachings and those learnings that you've done over the years and spread positivity, which is awesome. But I always remember, Ken, and this is a great thing. I'll tell a kung fu story now. It's and I remember you were in a class, and I'm not going to say who was around or who was there. It was just you, and you're in a class. And I remember there was this young chap that you're with, quite a bit younger than you, and we were doing like it was if someone was to grab you or try and push you or something, and you're working on this technique, and the person you were with probably thought, look, this guy's a senior person in the class, and I'm going to take it easy on Ken here, and you were saying, come on, go harder, go harder, and I remember you looked at me and I'm like, yes, yep, keep doing that, keep it. And I remember you became frustrated a little because this person was probably not. They thought you were a lot weaker than you were, maybe because of your age or whatever. And I had a little grin on my face because I knew exactly what you were capable of, and in actual fact, probably way above this particular person's level anyway. And I remember you went, right, come on, let's get serious. And it's quite interesting. You're practicing what you preach. You switched. You did that switch, and I saw it. I remember witnessing this, and this chap, tried to really grab you hard, and then you did this push, the technique that we were doing, and the guy went flying, and he almost went through the glass window, and I remember he was quite in shock. I think you're a little bit in shock, but quite happy that. And I think everyone was just like, wow, okay, there you go. And to me, that's a great example of, you never judge a book by its cover. Yeah. But the inner strength is, and it's all about inner strength and that positive thinking through learning, through kung fu, learned skills. So that's I always remember that, and that's a great story of that I think when I think of you, Ken, I think of in a kung fu setting, this guy flying almost through the window.
No, thank you. You're being very kind. But I do actually remember that. That's one of my favourite moments as well. But I also I think one of the key messages for that I think maybe you and I would agree is that one of our great joys is helping people achieve more than they ever thought possible.
Yes.
And because often the limits that we have are limits, our own self-induced limits.
Yes.
And when someone comes along that believes in you, and like you could, with me with kung fu, it could see past age and balding head and just kind of go, actually, I'll find a way to make this work for Ken. And then suddenly I went, well, maybe this is all possible. And what are my limits? And
yes.
I think that's really exciting, to help with younger people in particular, is to say, why do you believe this? What are your assumptions? What are these limits you're putting on yourself? Maybe let's move beyond that and see where it takes us. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm a U2 fan. And always been a U2 fan from when I was a younger guy. And Bono, once I saw him being interviewed, and he actually said this thing, and obviously they became a famous band from a very young age, and they were obviously guys from Dublin and Ireland, and life was pretty tough when they were growing up in the 70s. But I remember hearing this saying that Bono said, and I love this saying. And it's sometimes when you're 16, you think you can take on the world, and sometimes you're right. And it's
that's
I
right.
love it. And him and his mates who are U2 dared to dream, and they started this little band called U2, and now it's huge, and they're the biggest band in the world for many years. And it's just, I think you're 100% right. Everyone, particularly growing up and through the younger years, if you have that positive outlook and dare to dream, you never know where you can get. And I know with me, and people said to me, you'll never make a living out of kung fu.
Yes.
It's a side hustle, it's a side passion, and and I've made a living out of kung fu, and I dared to dream, and I also thought, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it was that. Maybe it's the Scottish heritage in me. I'm a bit stubborn, but I was like, no, I can definitely do that. I think I can do it, definitely, for sure. But what I like with what you've done, Ken, is you've really formalized all this into getting it out there for everyone in business. It's that positive outlook, that positive approach. It's that, whether it be speed or switch thinking, is just, I think, an amazing tool that will be, that's really great to have in that commercial setting, in the commercial world out there. So thank you for getting that out there. Thank you. It's just it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Sifu. No, I'm a great believer. The other thing too, which I think is more and more with artificial intelligence and things like that, you can look at that as a major threat, and there are some issues. But what an amazing opportunity to access, to get the best of your imagination as well as the processing power of artificial intelligence, and kind of putting them together and saying, here's what, we can create whole new customer experiences,
Yes.
New ways of solving some of the problems of the world, and what a fantastic time to be living. It's all that.
Well, I'm sure you definitely remember it. I know when I was just finishing school, computers were just coming in, and so I'm showing my age now. So when I was in year 12, about to leave school, there was a big threat on what's going to happen in the world. We're all going to lose jobs. Computers are going to take over everything, and there was this big fear mongering about computers coming into the office, and obviously that didn't happen. It actually enhanced our business experience and world with computers. And I think you're 100% right with AI. I think now that there are some people with some different ideas about AI that might be more of a negative approach in some ways, but I'm 100% with you. I think there's some positive ways of thinking towards AI and making that sort of connect the world a lot better, and even our workplace. So I'm 100% with what you're saying there, 100%.
Yes, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Ken, thank you for joining us today for Brett Russell Chats, and you're an amazing person, amazing human being, and I wish you all the best with more creativity in the future, and we'll no doubt keep in touch, and maybe you might become a regular on the podcast every now and then. So
thank you. It was absolutely my pleasure. I love the conversation. So let's go for it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ken. Thank you. Have a good night.